Hey, so Trip, thanks so much for being with me today. I really appreciate it. How's it going?
It's good, man. How are you? Just for here, it's just another day at work, really.
Glad to hear. I'm doing great on this end. So, I want to get right into this. You shared something with me a little bit over a month ago. It's a kind of like I'd say an exercise or something I've been doing every day, and it's truly, truly helped me and my life as far as anxiety and keeping me positive and centered. And I don't even understand how to explain it to the viewers. So I'm gonna ask you to share with them what is it that you taught me, and we'll share about it. It's really been life changing. But what is it exactly? How do you describe it? I don't know if I can describe it. And also, we'll get into what the exercise is because it's actually so simple. It's unbelievable. These days a lot of people want these really complex, expensive solutions. This is free and simple. So I want you to talk about it and share as much as you can, please.
Sure. All right. So what I gave to you was a method for rewiring your brain to get out of the negative habits that you normally have and stop giving you these negative chemical dumps. So to understand that, it's think about it like if you're watching a scary movie, your mind gets sucked into the drama of it, and you know it's not real, but you're sitting there watching the movie and your stress hormones start going through the roof, the adrenaline goes up, your cortisol goes up, something jumps out at you, you jump even though there's nothing there. Your dog looks at you like you're stupid because there's nothing there. But that's how powerful the mind is whatever your mind thinks about, it induces these chemical releases. So when people have anxiety or depression chronically, it's you can almost always trace it back to their thought patterns. What are they thinking about? And it has to do a lot of times it has to do with scenarios. You know, somebody makes you mad at work or a family member says something to you and you dwell on it and you sit there and you run these scenarios in your head on how you can win an argument with them, and you're having this imaginary argument with somebody that's not actually there, but your body doesn't know it's not happening. And just like watching TV, your mind gets sucked into the drama of the story that's going on, and it releases the stress hormones as if it's actually happening. And over years and years and years of doing this, it creates chronic illness and you know, depression, anxiety, etc. But yeah, what I gave you, what I had you do, is basically just a method to rewire your brain from being negative to being positive and getting your body to release the good chemicals. And eventually you begin to believe that it's working because it does work, and it becomes stronger. And then eventually over the course of time, it becomes your new reality.
So, okay, let's back up for 1 second because I've been doing this microdose U thing for a good year and a half. This channel here, and I put out a bunch of videos, and you apparently saw something as
Hmm.
positive as I try to be on my videos, and my facial features and the way I look, I try to remain super positive. But you apparently saw something maybe going on in the background that maybe I didn't even know about, because sometimes after a video you would message me or call me and say, "Hey, man, we've got to talk. I see something in your face." What was it that you were seeing?
So, your eyes give away a lot, and what they have a tendency to do is they have a tendency to let somebody who knows what's going on, like myself, know if you're worried about something, if you're stressed about something. Ironically, I went back and looked at some pictures of me from some years ago, and I could see like how tortured I was in my own eyes, like just completely devoid of life and like meaning. And so when a person has this, you know that they're not awake. Now, when I say awake, I'm talking about the Eastern spiritual version of awakening, where your mind has flipped, and you can see the perspective of recognizing that your inner voice, your mind, your ego is not you. It never was, and it's caused you a lot of trouble, heartache, and it's very visible on somebody. And when you actually flip the switch, when you get to the point of no return where you can't unsee it, then your eyes change. You become way more relaxed, more go with the flow, and it shows on your face. Like a lot of times the wrinkles around your eyes kind of just get smaller because you're not like squinting, and you're not stressed out, and and it's a natural effect. But yeah, so that's what happened to you, and yeah. I don't know any other way to describe it.
Yeah. Well, because I got into this exercise, this daily exercise routine that you've been teaching me, and so just 3 days ago, I did a little video, and you immediately messaged me and said, "Hey, Dave, I see a tremendous difference in your face. This thing has, and your voice and everything, the way you carry yourself." And so you said, "This is working great." And I know you said that after about 30 days of this daily type of exercise or ritual or routine or whatever it is, you'll notice you'll feel completely different after about 30 days, which is absolutely true. Explain, if you want to explain more about it, or get into what somebody would do every single day. It's up to you how you want to proceed.
Okay, so what I'll have to do is, in order for it to be understandable, I'll break down the science of it, and then I'll go back and I'll give the simplified version of what you do. All right. So every day you wake up. If you're one of those people that's depressed or have anxiety, you wake up with the depression and the anxiety. So you already wake up in a low state. You've got stress hormones coursing through you. So what we have to do is we have to start conditioning your mind to not be that way when you wake up, right? So when you first wake up, your brain is in what's called the theta brainwave state, which is a perfect time to learn something. So if you wake up and immediately you start like trying to learn a second language using like a language app or whatever you listen to, it sinks in a lot quicker and a lot faster. It's the same as if you jump in your car and you're late for work and you just got out of bed and you're still groggy. Whatever song you put on the radio is stuck in your head all day long. So what we're doing is we're using that to kind of hack your system to get this information into you so that you can start literally programming your mind. So when you first wake up, I usually have people do a mantra. And if you're not one of those spiritual people, or you don't like the term, because I used to hate the term mantra, you can call it word programming. It's the same thing, right? We say this stuff out loud, and it comes back into our ears while we're in a theta brainwave state, and it sinks in. All right, so I would have them say something to the effect of, and it's a little long, but today's a good day, it's a beautiful day, it's a positive day. Today I am centered, and we'll say centered. I'm positive, and we'll stay positive. And I have a shield around me that protects me from negative and bad. So you have them say this stuff like 10 times while they're in the theta brainwave state. So you first wake up, you start saying these things, you say it about 10 times. And then now what we have to do is we have to set your chemical mood for the day. So I tell people to get your phone out, go to YouTube, put on something funny that actually makes you laugh. Me, I used to watch funny animal videos like squirrels and cats and stuff like that, things that made me laugh. And so you're in the theta brainwave state, and you're laughing, which is releasing these good hormones into your body. And so when you get out of bed, you feel good, right? So you start your day on a high chemical note, so that even if things go not so great throughout the day, you'll go low, but it's not like you're starting here and then you drop through the floor at the end of the day. And now, the interesting thing is, if you're familiar with what's called Pavlov's dogs, it's Pavlov was a scientist who studied conditioning. And what he discovered was that whenever they went to feed dogs, if they rang a bell before they fed them, the dogs got used to the sound being rang when they go to feed them. So he theorized that if I don't bring any food, but I ring the bells, the dogs would salivate and start drooling even without food being there. So they tested it, and the dogs drooled. So what we're doing is we're essentially using the Pavlov dog method of conditioning. So your body gets used to laughing when you wake up, right? And so what happens is after a week or two of it, it begins to expect that that is the normal way things are going, and it starts releasing those good chemicals before you even wake up. So we're kind of like doing a little bit of biohacking here. Now, the third thing that needs to be done is you have to pay attention to your thoughts. And anytime that your thoughts throughout the day turn negative, like you start thinking about something and it starts going negative, you'd be like, nope, I want to change the channel. I don't want to listen to this stuff. I don't want to get sucked into the drama of this and begin to feel bad. So you think about 3 positive thoughts. Now, for me, it was something like I would think of something funny that my son did, or I would think about my cat or my dog or something that made me happy. And I would think about it until I actually felt those feelings that you have with those memories. And my inner voice began to realize what I was doing, and it stopped being so direct and in my face negative. So this is essentially the science behind it. And it's as simple as, number 1, wake up, say this positive mantra, and you can use a positive mantra of your choice, but I use a very specific one. Say this mantra like 10 times, watch funny videos for 10 or 15 minutes and make yourself laugh so that this becomes the new normal for when you go to wake up. And then spend the rest of the day paying attention to your mind, and anytime it goes negative, think of 3 positive things until you have an emotional response to it in a positive way. And you're beginning to condition yourself, rewire the way that your brain habits are so that you don't feel bad anymore. And it's absolutely amazing to watch somebody who tells me, I don't think it's possible for me to be happy. And then next thing you know, like a month or 2 down the road, they're like, I don't even know how to go back the other way anymore. Why would I ever want to go back the other way? This is so much better, you know?
I've actually shared this with a couple people, and just shared this with somebody maybe within the past few days, and he messaged me today and said, after 2 or 3 days of this, he said he feels a tremendous difference. He said it's amazing. I do have a question though. So actually 2 questions about this, because I'm over a month into this and I truly believe it works. My first question though is, and I'll share this with you, Trip. The first week or week and a half or a couple weeks, instead of only saying the mantra out loud, I would also write it down. And I found that writing, like you've got to write it, you've got to understand it. So that really, really helps. It like it reinforces it incredibly well.
Sure. You can do that also.
Yeah. I mean, but I did both. I wrote it and I also recited it out loud.
Sure.
But what I wanted to ask you about this mantra thing, and I use this, you share yours with me, and that I use it exactly the same. It's a good day. It's a beautiful day. It's a positive day. I am positive and I will stay positive. I'm centered and I will stay centered. And I have a shield around me protecting me from negative and bad. Now, I said that I said the whole thing for a reason. You said it a little while ago. I said it just for a reason. My question is about that. The first couple weeks, I'm writing it down. I'm thinking about it as I'm saying it. But now I'm at the point where I know it so easily, and I memorized it. And sometimes I find myself, I try not to do this, but I find myself saying it, and I'm only saying it. I'm like, do you know what I mean? Is that still gonna? I try to stop myself and I try to like understand every word, but If you're saying it by rote, is that still going to help?
Yes, because if you're saying it out loud, a lot of times it's coming around out of your mouth into your ears, so it's hitting your subconscious. Honestly, though, it's unnecessary once you get to a certain point. Once you
Oh,
get to what I call the point of no return, the only thing you really have to do is pay attention to your thoughts, literally for the rest of your life, but pay attention to your thoughts and not allow them to turn dark. This initial practice that we start just becomes a part of you. It just kind of sinks in on such a level. Like, I wake up now and I don't say anything, and I look down at my dog and I smile, because my dog's cute as hell. So like, it's just, you can put your mind there immediately. As soon as you wake up, you can say, you know what, I feel good. You don't have to say a big long thing after a while, but you can. There's nothing wrong with it. And if you go throughout your entire life and you say this thing out loud or even inside your head for the rest of your life, and you're okay with it, and it doesn't annoy the hell out of you, then go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah.
okay. So that was a major question too. Like how long do you have to do that? And you just answered that perfectly. So thanks for that. And the other thing I wanted to comment on is, and you didn't tell me specifically this would happen. I think I came back to you after a week or two. This really happened after like maybe three or 4 days, like almost immediately. Um, so the first few days, I found myself having those negative thoughts come into my mind, and that that your inner voice and your ego or whatever. And I would use the technique where I think of something really happy, and it immediately change the channel. But I noticed after 3, 4, 5 days, those negative thoughts stop coming into my brain. So these days,
Yeah.
like I rarely have to use that technique where I change the channel. I don't have those negative thoughts flowing in to begin with, which is incredibly cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why we call it rewiring. We're changing your mental habits. We're changing everything. And some people have a dropping away of the inner voice. It happened to me for about 3 days. One day, it hit, and the inner voice just kind of went away for like 3 days, and I was sitting here going like, "Wow, this is weird. I don't have an inner voice." I mean, if I wanted to think about something, I could. Some people experience that for short periods of time. Some people for longer. Your inner voice almost always comes back, but yeah, you're going to find that what happens is your inner voice, your ego, it stops being so in your face, which is what it does to most people all the time. And you become a lot happier, but then what happens is it starts becoming sneakier, and it comes at you through other things, your belief structures, your passions, your dislikes, and your concepts of right and wrong and justice. So like, there's different levels of ego that you have to go through, and there's little traps that you have to go through, and sometimes you even have an ego flare up where your inner voice, somebody says something and it bothers you on a really bad level, and no matter what you do, you can't stop thinking about it, and it could go on for days. This is normal too, but basically remember, it will end. And if all your tricks don't work anymore, then what you have to do is you have to kind of like give up, surrender, and then with that surrender, it'll go away on its own. It's an amazing process.
I wanted to also ask you, kind of the last thing is, how do you, oh, do you recommend incorporating, because let's face it, we both talk about magic mushrooms. I talk more about microdosing, you talk more about larger doses. Um, is this something that you would actually use as an adjunct with microdosing, or as a standalone, or is microdosing not as effective unless you also use this technique? How does it come into play with that?
Okay, so this practice is old. It's nothing new. All I did was, make it understandable for the modern Western mind, but these techniques go back thousands of years. It's old Eastern spiritual practice. And so there's nothing new about it. What the mushrooms do is, if you use mushrooms, is they, even on small levels, they have a tendency to allow you to be able to distance yourself from your inner voice far enough to be able to see it clearly and what it's doing to you. Whenever you take large doses, like what I call a threshold dose, which is a very large amount, you distance yourself so far that you can't unsee it. And then the changes are permanent. You can see your mind a lot more clearly, and it allows you to do the work faster and more effectively. When you're microdosing, like what you did, I kind of cheated with you. I was having a hard time getting you to turn your attention to certain places of your own mind while you were microdosing. So basically, I gave your mind information that it would chew on a subconscious level until things started to happen. And then once things started to happen and you got excited about it, I was able to get you to start doing the work. The work is very important. Mental work, even with mushrooms, is incredibly important. There are people out there who are looking for the magic pill. They're like, well, if I just want to microdose, I don't want to do anything else. Well, guess what? You live with your mind lives with you. It knows everything about you, your insecurities, your problems, your traumas, and it uses every bit of it against you in order to manipulate you and keep you under its control. So if you think that taking a pill like microdosing is going to fix your life, you're going to be taking pills the rest of your life. All you did is swap one chemical for another. But if you're willing to do the actual real work, you will get over your traumas very quickly. You will get over PTSD. I used to have PTSD. Some of the other people that I've worked with used to have PTSD. We have no triggers left inside of us anymore, and we don't need the mushrooms at all. And this is where you really want to be. You want to be completely independent of any outside chemicals in order to make you feel good. You can learn how to feel good from the inside out, and it all starts with what you think about.
Sounds like a winner. Sounds great. I think it's a great point to end on, because I think we've pretty much covered everything we need to cover. Unless you think we've missed anything and you want to have some final word or so.
Well, no, I mean, the only thing I can think of is there's a little bit of a cautionary thing. Taking mushrooms will not make anybody enlightened. It will not bring you to awakening by itself. There are things that have to happen. There are realizations that have to happen, and that usually comes from paying attention to what your mind is doing, and certain exercises and whatnot, until all of a sudden you become very clear with it and you realize that your inner voice is not you, and it does not have your best interest at heart. And when you come to that, when you have that clarity, then what I call come to the other side of the mirror, then life never goes back the other way again. You're always where you're at, and it's a good place to be. So mushrooms can't make you enlightened, but they assist the process if that's what you're trying to achieve.
So actually, a good point. And before we close, I do want to mention something else, or I want you to comment on something. And by the way, I saw that you did a video a very short time ago. And if anybody is not following Trip, can I give you a little plug and say your channel is Chop Wood, Carry Water, something spirituality? Maybe I messed that up.
Yeah, it's Chop Wood, Carry Water, Practical Spirituality. And yeah, no, it's mostly I do what I can to try and help people get over their own suffering. If people decide to go further than that and go deeper down the rabbit hole and like go into the spiritual stuff, they can, but they don't have to. The first half of most Eastern spiritual practices is psychology to begin with, and that's all we're doing right now.
So I think this is a good place to end. I want to ask you one more question, and I think this should maybe sum everything up, because this is what I was referring to. That you did a video the other day on this, and you described it so eloquently, better than I could, I think. So I want you to describe to somebody that's watching this right now how they're going to feel after about 30 days of this exercise. And I remember you using one term, something like you're going to just flow through life very, very
Yeah.
easily. So explain that feeling, or how they're going to feel.
So if you do the practice, like dedicated, actually do the practice, you don't even have to believe in it. You don't have to think it's going to work, because it just works. It's based on biology. Then you're going to see these things begin to happen. You're going to have good days, or you're going to have days that are not bad. And eventually you get to a point where you have the flip of your mind. You become happy for no reason. Life becomes better. And then eventually you just enter the flow state, or effortless living, where you don't really worry about anything. You don't worry about tomorrow. You don't think about the past. You've already resolved everything. And you just enter into this flow state, and life goes on autopilot, man.
We can't ask for more than that. I think it's a beautiful way to end this, because again, I've been doing this for a little over a month now, and I like you said, the switch has been flipped, and I wouldn't go back for anything. It's incredible. So Trip, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. And it's always fun hanging out with you and being on videos with you, and chatting, and whatever we do. It's always great. If you want to, is there anything else you want to say about your site, or if we said enough? Can people get there easily?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I got the Facebook group of the same name, Chop Wood, Carry Water, Practical Spirituality. I've got the YouTube channel, and then there's Instagram. The Instagram one's a little different. It's CWCW _ Practical Spirituality. But I'm not trying to sell anybody a load of goods, and I'm not trying to get rich off of it. I'm just giving people information they can use to stop suffering.
We both went through some stuff, and if we can help one other human being live a better life, then we're good. And I think we're helping a lot more than one. So Trip, thank you so much. It's always great hanging out with you, man.
Yeah, man.